Hello and welcome to another episode of the Almond View podcast with myself, Jake Pointer, my co-host Liam Innes,
Hiya!
and handsome panellists Thomas Fro, Owen Innes, and Mr. Stephen Pulvey.
Hello there.
Hello!
Hello.
As per, we are brought to you in association with After Extra Time Shirts. Follow at AET Shirts on Twitter for some great content and links to class merchandise.
On this week's show, there's only one place to start, and it's the National Stadium, Hampden Park, as we look back at our triumphant semi-final victory against St Mirren on Sunday by choosing our favourite moments from the game. Livy are back where they belong, on the big stage for even more League Cup glory, baby. We're also chatting all things Livingston with ex-striker Colin McMenamin. He also dives into his after-Livingston career with everyone's favourite worst nightmare, Gretna FC.
And finally, we will look back at our favourite games against Aberdeen and Kilmarnock from the past, ahead of the two clubs' visit at the Macarena this week.
So switch us on loud, listen to us proud, and enjoy the upcoming West Lothian-based football content with us here at the Almond View. Well, we've only went and gone and done it again. 17 years after our first and only appearance at a major cup final, the Lions are ravenous for more League Cup glory, baby. And I, for one, can't wait. We've asked the boys to pick a moment that they've got that's got them fired up for a final. So, Povey, what is your moment of the semi-final?
Well, it's been an awful struggle today. After I've been suffering big time from the hangover. But my goodness, totally worth it, I'm actually, to be honest, just so impressed at the amount of clean sheets we're getting, by the way. See, Big Max, outstanding. Like 7 clean sheets in the last 10 games he's played. Going 1-0 up, brilliant. We went guns blazing. I thought St Mirren total, I was a bit surprised at how defensive they were. So, it was good to get that early goal. But then we did what we're best at, Clean sheets galore. Keep that up. It's going to be class. So, I thoroughly enjoyed the game. And although an outsider would say it's boring, I don't care, man. We're going to Hampden, baby.
No, exactly. I mean, the point that you raise about so many clean sheets in this run, man, it's like, from what a stark contrast from the start of the season, where no matter what kind of set play it was, corner, free kick, whatever, even a goal kick, you knew that it was going to cause danger. But ever since Martindale's come in, the defence has just shored up so much, man, and it is fucking quality to see. Jake, what was your moment from the semi-final?
Funnily enough, I'm just continuing on from what you boys have been saying. For me, my man of the match was Effie Ambrose.
Oh,
I thought he was absolutely phenomenal, and I think now Martindale's just basically said to him, "Can you stop being a big fanny?" And now he's just so solid, and you can tell he's wanting to do something stupid, and he's going, no, better no. And just simple things like, I'm not going to do anything stupid. Go back to the keeper, punt it out as far as you can. And he just, like, Brophy, he had Brophy in his pocket the whole game. It was absolutely brilliant. What a player. I'm so glad he's back in. I was always a big Fitzwater fan ahead of him, but Ambrose all the way, brilliant. So proud of him. Excellent.
I mean, the whole thing about Effie Ambrose at the start of the season, I mean, the whole sort of mistake myth about him, that he does have a mistake in him and stuff, and he is pretty risky at times in terms of his defending, but
yep.
I mean, Jack Fitzwater came in at the start of the season, Effie was at left wing back. That didn't work. It was so stupid. But then, now that there's that sort of now that Fitzwater and Ambrose know that one of them can't play,
yep.
Now you can tell that they're like stepping up their game, because we aren't going to play Effie Ambrose at left back ever again, I hope.
No.
By the fact that there's only one spot on that sort of right hand side of defence, and they're both sort of gunning for it, and that's where the improvement from Fitzwater's been as well.
Yeah.
So I agree with Effie was pretty spectacular.
Brilliant.
Thomas, what about yourself?
I think it was a pretty bizarre semi-final, you know. Obviously, we all had our wee day in and enjoyed it thoroughly, but I just wish I was there. Like, the experience, like, it was good watching the game, watched it with the in-laws. It was fantastic, but God, what it would have been like to be there. That's what I want to talk about. Like, what a day out it would have been. And the same for the final. Think about the final as well. Yeah, so a different experience, you know, but still a fantastic one. I think we played pretty well, kept them out. Obviously, touched on the clean sheets again, but aye, wish I was there. But interesting experience at home.
It's amazing knowing that people, including myself, are actually starting to get ahead of themselves and being like, no, do you know what? We could actually get 4,000 people in a stadium. Like, that's no bad. Like, if we just let season ticket holders in. And I just know I'm bigging myself up for the massive fall of when it inevitably we're told you're getting nowhere fucking near this game, pal.
Yeah, you're spot on. I can't see it. I think the Twitter was spot on, so telling us to vaccinate all of Livingston and Perth, which would be good. But you know, we'll see. You never know.
It's only a month away. No chance.
Nah,
might as well get the beers ready now, boys. For the hoose, like.
That's true.
Stack them up.
Owen, what about yourself? What was your moment of the semi?
Well, just before I get on to my moment, I just want to say what happened the last time when we had a really, truly awful semi-final and won 1-0.
That's true.
I mean, I suppose though it's a wee bit harsh to say it was truly awful. I think obviously from a Livingston point of view, we were absolutely fantastic. My moment was Craig Sibbald. That header off the line.
Yes.
That was the biggest. That was the only opportunity in which St Mirren had the entire game in order to get anywhere near scoring a goal. If Craig Sibbald was not there, putting his head on the line for the Lions, we wouldn't be talking about. We might not. Sorry, be talking about another victory at Hampden. So, I totally agree with Jake about Effie Ambrose. I thought he was by far the best player on the park. I think I was even talking to Jake at the time throughout the course of the game, and we always said that it was going to be Scott Robinson was going to get man of the match, purely because he scored the goal. He put in some fair shift, but I think Riley looked very, again, our sponsored player. Gavin Riley came on. He did absolutely everything right. But Effie Ambrose was for me the man of the match. But Craig Sibbald putting his life align to head that ball off the line was by far my moment of the match.
Aye, there was a handsome young man on Twitter got in contact and said that was, I can't remember the boy's name, but he did say that wasn't getting enough recognition. Like.
Mm-hmm. That was Slunny, wasn't it? Scotland. Shout out. Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, it was because I know obviously we've won and I shouldn't be pessimistic, but it was one of those games that I'm sure I put it in the chat again saying next goal was the winner if there was going to be a goal. So I think if St Mirren had got that goal that Sibbald cleared off the line, I reckon they probably would have went on and won it because they looked like they didn't look dangerous, but it was just the amount of pressure we were being put under. But I think that moment summed their game up that just nothing was going to go in for them. My moment, I have to say, was Marvin Bartley's bizarre pass straight to a St Mirren player when they went up and broke. He was in the middle of the field and he'd done some sort of like mental backflip. He took the ball with his right foot, ended up connecting with his left foot, going about 6 foot in the air, and then sending a St Mirren player through not through on goal, but through out wide. But fair play, he got back up and managed to clear the danger eventually. But that was my moment because I remember my heart sunk And apart from the goal, that was pretty much the only thing I could remember. Because as Owen said, it was fairly an unforgettable game. or a forgettable game, sorry.
Neither goalkeeper had to make a save at all. I think Stryek came out and made a save kind of later on in the second half, but it wasn't. We weren't really put under much danger at all. And it's great for the salty tears from the St Mirren fans. Those taste absolutely fantastic right now.
Oh. I've got one question for everyone. Just a quick fire round. Is there a bigger myth in Scottish football than Eamon Brophy?
Yeah, he's a total fart in the wind, isn't he? Brutal, man.
He is. Just
I don't know why I was shitting my pants before, to be honest. I was like, bro,
I was the same. He's so pissed.
John Obika looked so much better when he came on. I think even a lot of St Mirren fans, from what I could see, were baffled as to why Brophy started. In all honesty, I genuinely, I even said this again to Jake during the game. It's like, imagine being Eamon Brophy playing for Hamilton, and then doing virtually nothing of note there, getting signed up for Kilmarnock, scoring quite free in one season, dropped for some guy that no one's ever heard of, and now is on loan at St Mirren before signing with them permanently. I think it's. I've never seen the attraction in Brophy whatsoever.
Some dive from Obika, by the way, when he went on. That's a pen.
Oh yeah.
That was
a belter of a dive.
Another thing, just another shout out to Robbo, man. Another goal, and the celebration from the boys was amazing. I thought, you could hear them all giving it fucking yes, and like I actually thought I heard someone say, fucking well, and we won, and that, and you're like, all right, total unity, man. It's amazing.
It's one of those things that we especially over the past few years, we've been so lucky that we've had like League One to first season in the Premiership. We had Detling, Gallagher, Craig Halkett, obviously Lithgow's still there, Sean Byrne, Ryan Hardy, Lee Miller, and then when those players started leaving, you were like, oh fuck, like what are we going to do? We bring in John Guthrie. Every Walsall fan is saying, nah, he's pissed. Nah, definitely not. Woeful player. But then we just keep going, man. Like that's the thing that gets me, is that we keep losing these apparent really key players. But the whole structure of the club and the reason that the success is being built is because of David Martindale, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like it's just amazing.
Definitely.
I reckon that next season we'll win the league. But honestly, I'm so happy for David Martindale as well. The amount of shit that he has to go through, especially like his after match interview straight. Like he's never gonna. I can't remember if it was you, Povey, that said, "Is there ever going to be a point that he just isn't going to have to speak about his past?"
Hopefully, once the hearing gets out of the way, they'll kind of get over it a little bit. And by the time this is released, it probably is out of the way. But hopefully, we can all move forward.
Ironic, because you're talking about it. Like you're the one bringing it up, Liam. Like,
I know. But it's one of those things that it is like, it's frustrating seeing as a fan that you do just want him. He can't just be a good manager, and he is. Yeah. Like that is all he is. He's just a good manager.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying last week as well. Like with Martindale, as people all like look at his record and the fact that he worked at Broxburn United, and now all of a sudden he's the manager at Livingston. Like people won't look at him as a good manager because they don't feel as though he should be a good manager because of his past. But then also, if you ignore that completely with the clubs that he's worked at before, and the fact that he never had a proper career in football before now, so people are always going to look at it and talk about it regardless.
We are now delighted to announce that we are joined by a man that loves nothing more than scoring goals, winning promotions, and chatting shite with a bunch of grown men with no lives. It's a pleasure to say that we have Colin McMenamin on the line with us. Colin, how are you?
That's not bad. That's more claps than I got when I played there.
Surely no. All right, let's get stuck in. Colin, you started your career with Annan Athletic before being snapped up by English giants Newcastle United that had players like Alan Shearer, Bellamy, Shay Given, Gary Speed, and working under Sir Bobby Robson. What was it like being around a club of such stature? Did you get interaction with the first team players?
We got changed. I got changed in the first team changing room. My seat was, I was in between Alan Shearer and Shay Given. That was my seat in the changing room. So we trained every day. Didn't get to play much with them, obviously. I never made the first team, but trained every day with them. Few nights out with them and everything that goes along with it. But no, it was a really, really eye-opening experience considering I was coming for part-time football in Scotland.
I mean, that was literally going to be my next question. Did you get a pint with Alan Shearer?
We did, believe it or not, I went down on the Monday before Christmas and it was on trial. And it was their Christmas night out on the Tuesday.
Amazing.
And I ended up in the Christmas night out with them, drinking bottles of champagne with Alan Shearer and Kevin Gallagher, just sitting in a club drinking champagne with these two international footballers.
That's
Me being a silly wee boy for Dumfries, thought I could drink too much and tried to outdrink them. So it was a good laugh, and it made training on Thursday morning a wee bit more interesting when they were all saying how pissed I was. But I certainly left a mark there because I managed to sign after that, so I must have done all right in the drinking stakes and the players were on my side.
That's class. All right, moving on after. So you had 2 years with Newcastle and then you decided to join the famous Amber Machine. What was it that you to join the Jim Leishman party bus of dreams? Did you have any offer to stay down south or like other teams in Scotland?
I did. I had a lot of offers at the time, but there was a thing called ITV Digital went bust down in England at that point, and a lot of the money went out of the lower leagues. So I could have signed for Oldham. I was close to signing for Oldham. And then when I was coming up the road, I could have signed for Dundee United, Kilmarnock or Livingston. I spent a week in Dundee and pissed down in the middle of June for a full week. I was like, I need to get out here. And at the same time, Livingston had already offered me a contract, so I got the train from Dundee down to Edinburgh, and John Robertson picked me up for the train station, took me into Livy. And as soon as you speak to Robbo, there was only one place I wanted to go because I'm a striker and you don't get many better than him. So as soon as I started speaking to him, it was there was no choice really. To be fair, I was always going to sign with Livingston.
Nice. And did you expect to were you kind of thinking you could get into the first team kind of straight away, or what were you thinking?
There was a few of us all signed at the same time. Myself, Burton O'Brien, David McNamee, we all signed at the same time from the same kind of background. The difference with them is they had some first team experience playing at St Mirren. So I knew I was there to challenge to get in the first team. It maybe took me a wee bit longer than I wanted it to, but at the same time I did have some quality in front of me. So I managed to get in. I think it was late in the year I managed to get my debut. But I had to go and start playing football, and luckily enough I managed to get some first team experience that season.
That's brilliant. So that season the team had some unbelievable foreign talent in the squads, like Zarate, who played for Real Madrid and then played for River Plate as well. And then there's Spanish international and Barcelona legend Guillermo Amor. Obviously you worked with like big names at Newcastle, but what was it like training with that kind of high quality player at Livingston?
It was great. I remember the day Guillermo signed. Myself and Alan Preston took him in the car we were playing Hibs reserves, and we were asking him who he'd played with, and he was telling us Koeman and Ronaldo and Stoichkov, and we were like, oh my god, he's going to come and play with us dafties at Easter Road on a Tuesday night. And I was lucky. I think he made his debut a couple of nights after away to Partick Thistle, and that's the night I scored my first goal as well. So nice. Everybody forgets about my first goal because they all talk about Guillermo playing, but he was phenomenal. He was phenomenal. But we just didn't see the best of him because obviously he was a bit older and he wasn't there for very long. But a really nice guy, top guy, The way he played football was just incredible. And ask any of the boys who were there at the time, you just watch him go, oh dear me. And he played with Guardiola. Guardiola looked up to him, by all accounts. I've read things in the past that Guardiola played beside him and looked up to him. You're like, it shows you where we were as a club at that moment, that we could attract those sort of players, to be honest.
You scored your first goal for the club away to Partick Thistle, as you just said. And can you tell us a bit more about it? And like, did you watch it back on Sports Scene after, or how? What happened?
I've watched it back. I've watched it back 100 times. I remember coming off the bench, and it was kind of an edgy game. We were 2-1 up, and it was a corner. Remember it coming in. I started my run at the front post. Alan Preston used to make me stand at the front post and come round the back. And when it came to me, I think it was on the volley back across the keeper into the far corner. I've got a mug. I don't know what you call them. You get them off the internet, and it's got the result on it. It's like the CFAX pages you used to get.
Yeah.
So I've still got that. My wee boy uses that to have his tea in. Still got my strip from that day.
No way.
Yes,
that's beautiful.
That's amazing.
So I've still got my strip from my first goal. And I give so many strips away, but I've kept that one, and that's one I'll probably keep forever, because my whole family's from Maryhill as well, so all my family were in the Livy end that night, all my Maryhill family, so I think a lot of them made a few bob on it as well, because they knew I was on the bench, so they all had money on me to be the last goal scorer. So we won 3-1 and scored a goal in front of my family, and I think I said my mum's got a picture in her house, me celebrating with Alan Preston as well. So it's important. I think every footballer remembers their first goal, so it's one that'll live with me forever.
Aye, brilliant. So everyone knows what Jim Leachman's, he's a bit of a character. What was it like working with him?
Crazy at times, like really crazy. There was no team talks. There was nothing really tactical. Davy Hay would do all the tactical stuff, and he had good coaches with John Robertson and Alan Preston that would take training. But Leach would just kick about and jump on the training ground every now and again, and then pull you into his office for games of word association, and he would tell you, I think he's got a green card. Is that a green? No, what do you call the card that you can be an actor? Somebody can Google it. He's got, he can be an actor. He's got this card, and he'd get it out and he'd say, I can be in films. And I don't know if you've seen pictures of Leach when he was younger, but he was a good-looking guy, ripped muscles. To turn into the mess that he was when I played under him was incredible, because he used to show you pictures of him being a player, and you're like, we'd spend 20 minutes how to remember 10 words. And right, this will help you on a Saturday. If you remember what your players, your teammates are going to do, and you tell you a story and teach you 10 words at the story, and you'd be like, oh my God. So at times it was hard, but it was probably what we needed. It was a great link, because Davy Hay was so serious and brilliant, whereas Leach was a wee bit more of a joker and liked a bit of fun.
At the start of your second season, you joined Falkirk on loan, which meant you were cup tie for the CIS Cup. Mm-hmm. Was that a bit of a gutter, not to be involved in the latter stages of the cup? Or?
An absolute gutter. No, well, I was kind of forced out the door at Livingston at that point. They told me I was an asset, and obviously Marcio had come in, and it was pretty shit, to be honest. And Alan Preston said to me, I can get you out on loan if you want. And go out on loan for 6 months. This will not last. And I was like, that sounds good to me. So I went out on loan to Falkirk. I could have went to anybody, to be fair, in the first division. So I went to Falkirk because of Yogi. And I done okay. I think I scored 5 goals in 12, 14 games or something. And then obviously when I came back, they were already in the semis at that point. So at that point, you just want the players to do well. You know what I mean? They're still your pals and that. So I remember being I was in with the fans in the semi-final in the away end. So
Right.
So when Dell scores the penalty, he celebrated to the left, didn't he? I was sitting just right hand side post. So I was sitting in there for the semi-final, and then obviously the build up to it, the final, you do feel a bit jealous and a bit gutted. But at the same time, you want the players to win, you want the boys to win. So it's all good, I suppose, in the end.
So we had Derek Lilly in last week, and he was like kind of talking about his penalty technique, and as long as you hit the target as a striker as well. Do you have any kind of thoughts on how you would take a penalty, or have you got any kind of superstitions?
No superstition, and I'm the opposite to what everybody tells you to do. Everybody tells you to pick your spot. I don't. I watch goalkeeper. I've always watched the goalkeeper. Thankfully, I'm not playing anymore, so nobody can hear this. But I've always watched the keeper, and I probably took about 20, 25 in my career, and I think I've missed 3. So
that's good.
No, I've just always kind of watched the keeper. Keepers will always go early. Keepers are daft or stupid. Like, they think they know it and they just jump. So honestly, you can see it. The amount of times you see it on the TV now, going, "Oh, the keeper went early. The keeper went early." Well, that's what they do. They guess. So if you can wait for them, so that's the way I've always done it. Whether it's right or wrong, it served me okay. So, but when Dale can put it where he wants it, that's different. I need to wait for the keeper to leave so he can leave me the big gap. Not good enough to pick a spot and hit it.
The club went into administration that season, which would have been obviously devastating to see us lose our jobs and that. However, as a younger player in the squad, did you maybe think there would be more of an opportunity to like show off your talents?
A bit of both, yeah. At the time, my flatmate was Tommy English. Don't know if you remember Tommy. He was one of the ones that got let go, so it was quite difficult. I knew Tommy from his Newcastle days. He was a kid at Newcastle, so he came up and I let him move in with me. But so it was difficult. But at the same time, I think I was one of the first to get called in, and they told me that I was an asset at the time, and I wasn't going anywhere. So if anything, they would look for money for me, for somebody to buy me. And Gretna tried to buy me at that point. I think Gretna were in the 3rd division. And Gretna offered 50 grand and Livingston turned it down. It wasn't even Livingston, it was the administrators turned it down. So they did. So I was told I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. So at the same time, I thought maybe there is an opportunity to play more games, because it probably worked out for me, because I think I played a lot more games after administration anyway. Should have sold me for 50 grand.
Finished the 03-04 season strong with 7 goals since returning from January, including goals against Aberdeen, Hearts, and most memorably an equalising goal against Rangers at Ammanville and a consolation goal against Celtic in the Scottish Cup final. What do you think your good form was down to?
Playing games. It was. I remember with obviously at the cup final, being I was cup tied. I always remember Alan Preston and Davy Hay telling me, "Listen, you'll have your cup final in a couple of weeks against Celtic," because it was only a week or 2 after it, playing the semi-final of the Scottish. And I remember we played Rangers in a reserve game at Almond Vale, and we beat them 3-0, and I think I got a hat-trick. And Rangers had Frank de Boer had just signed, and he was playing. They had Bob Malcolm playing, Stevie Hughes. So it was quite a big deal, because a lot of the fans were there that night as well. And then it was a kind of bit of hint that I needed to kind of step up a wee bit, because I was scoring too many goals in the reserves and no scoring enough for the first team. So I remember Alan Preston, Billy Kirkwood really, really pushing me at that point. And then obviously you score against Celtic, it's just a consolation, but being who I am, I've probably watched the whole game back about 7 or 8 times as well. I have another couple of opportunities and I actually do well when I come on. So that gave me a real lift, and I'm sure, I might be making this up, I'm sure the Celtic was on a Sunday, and then we played Rangers on a Wednesday, and I was gutted not to start, and Derek Lilly got injured after half an hour, and I came on after half an hour, and we ended up drawing 1-1, and it meant that I was kind of pushing myself again. So obviously with Dell being injured, I then got a run of games. So with the run of games coming, I managed to score a few goals, but I actually had a fallout with Davy Hay about it all, because I'd scored against Celtic on the Sunday, Rangers on the Wednesday. I'm sure we went away to Aberdeen on a Saturday and scored up there. We then played like Hearts I scored against, and then we went away to Kilmarnock, and Dell was back fit, and obviously because Dell was Dell, he came straight back into the team, and I can't remember if we were 2-0 down or 2-1 down with 20 minutes to go, and I didn't even get on the pitch. Didn't even bring me on. So I was raging, and he told me to report for the reserve game on a Monday, which I decided just to go out in the Randan for 2 days, and I didn't turn up. So let myself down a wee bit. I did. I let myself down a wee bit, but I was just so annoyed at the time.
Were you at Club Earth by any chance?
No, I went home to Dumfries that weekend. I went home to Dumfries and went out with my mates, and kidded on I was sick on a Monday and didn't turn up for the reserve game, but I just went out on the Saturday night and all day Sunday, so let myself down a wee bit. But I was that annoyed because I was scoring every week and playing well, and obviously Dale was top man, and obviously David was always going to play, so I had to dislodge one of them, and it was just never going to happen under Davy Hay.
I was going to ask, so you talk about pushing yourself, when to kind of get the most out of your game, but what changes there? Like, what do you have to do? Because the way I see it, like, you play your game, right? Obviously, you can run harder and stuff, but what changes with the way that you play to get that extra wee bit?
Confidence. The fact that I was playing, the fact that Alan Preston pushed me every week. Alan Preston, if it wasn't for Alan Preston, I don't think I would ever have played a first team game. Between him and John Robertson, they really did push me, and they really did want me to play. They were the ones telling Davey and Leash, you need to play this, you need to give him minutes, you need to get him more involved. And then once you start scoring goals and you're playing every week, your confidence is sky high. You go into every game thinking, I'm going to score. So all the small things that your touch, you don't worry about that as much, because you know if you're going to play, you're going to get opportunities. And it'd be lucky. It was just a good end of the season for me, and it was probably, didn't want it to end.
See, this argument with Davy Hay. So I just can't imagine Davy Hay like getting angry, like retaliating back at you or anything. I don't know.
Really?
The image I always had. Was he like that? Eh?
But Davy was mental. Davy would fight anybody. So he would. I remember I went in after the Celtic game. It was a Celtic reserve game that I didn't end up going to. I went in to see him, and I just said to him, I was like, well, I was gutted. I'm like, why am I not playing? He went, because you're not as good as David or Derek. Go out of my office. I went, right. So that's what he said to me at the time. And I was like, I couldn't have too many arguments because I'd just dinged a reserve game. But at the same time, he was that blunt. Davey was dead serious. The only time I ever seen Davey kind of laugh or smile was when he had a red wine in his hand. Like, after the cup final, he was blazing. And I think him and Alan Preston both slept in the gaffer's office that day and that. So, he was really, really serious, Davy Hay. You would not want to get on the wrong side of him. And people used to say to me, I think Davy Hay made his debut for Celtic against Rangers. And Rangers had, I think it was John Gregg or somebody who was notoriously hard. And Davy smashed him in the first minute. Got up and said, let's go. Like, Davy was a hard man. If you ask any of the boys, they did not want to get on the wrong side of Davy. At least you could just laugh and take the piss out of him. But you would never ever have tried to take a joke out of Davy. Never ever.
Wow.
So I was the daft wee boy that wanted to fight him, wanted to argue with him because I wasn't playing in a game. So I learned my lesson because I didn't play for 2 games after that.
Right. In the final season of your first spell at Livy, you were a part of the Great Escape squad. After a disastrous start under press and fortunes not changing to the last couple of months of the season under Gough, what do you think was the turning point?
I listened to Dale's last week with us, and he brings up the moment at Alloa that he kind of had a set to with Richard Gough. I broke my leg in training about a week after Richard Gough coming in. So I was coming back from my broken leg when the Alloa game happened, and it was me that scored the goal. We won 1-0. And I'll remember it afterwards. We went in the changing rooms at Alloa, and Richard Gough went, "Who'll fight me? You don't want to fight out there. Who wants to fight me in here?" And it was Dale that stood up. And Dale went, I'll fucking fight you. So he did. And
what?
Aye, it was surreal. So it was him and Dale just straight away. They were just knocking horns against, knocking each other. And I was like, oh no. But I was still trying to break into this team because I'd been out with a broken leg, and I just managed to score my first goal back after my thing went to win 1-0 in a game. Alloa battered us, absolutely battered us. And then after that, I think I played pretty much every game. And I played kind of wide of the three, so it was all about kind of working hard back the way and letting Hassan do whatever he wanted up top. And it was kind of like that. And I think I played the last 10, 12 games of that season. And it was every minute as well. Even the last game of the season, I played every minute and I was dead on my feet. So it was a surreal time. But as I said, I listened to Dell saying he didn't like golf. I really liked him. I got on really well with him. But at the same time, I played every game. So I think you'll find that with a lot of people, that if you're playing, you like them. If you're not playing, you're not too happy. So I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it under Goffey. And he was good because once we stayed up as well, we all went out on the Tuesday night after it in Glasgow, and he came to meet us for a beer. So it was the usual suspects: myself, Button, Jamie McAllister, David McNamee, John Paul McGovern. It was kind of same usual suspects. Big Marv was always there, but I don't think he was there at the time. And Goffey came into the pub and met us and said to Button, who was captain at the time, "Here's my credit cards. Just don't go stupid." So Button came back to the table. We were in Barbuda in Glasgow. I don't know if you know it. And Bob was like, "The gaffers gave me his credit card. He says we've not to go stupid." I can geese it. So I absolutely rinsed it. I was buying bottles of champagne, bottles of vodka, you name it. I had it at our table that night. And this is before the days of all these wee daft wee boys getting booths and bottles of vodka and that. I went and absolutely rinsed his credit card that night. And then we met him in the dancing later on that night, and there he was in the corner with this wee bird. Well, look at him, man. He was about 50-year-old trying to chat up this wee 20-year-old. He's so. But to be fair, he came over and told us that night. He went, "Listen, I'm not staying here next year. I've told them I'm leaving." And I was like, "Okay." So it was quite surreal, but I quite liked him. I got on with him.
Nice.
So class.
Well, you mentioned Hassan Kashul, who seemed like an absolute weapon. But what was it like to play with?
He didn't really talk to anybody, and everybody talks about Hassan Kashul making a big difference. But for me personally, I think we signed Eric Dolomieu as well. So we did, as the fullback, and he was huge. What a huge player for he was that season. He could play centre back as well. And he made a huge difference in training. He brought the standard up in training. And I just thought he was top notch. And then, obviously, we were organised. It was supposed to be a 4-3-3. It was a 4-5-1. But I think Hassan had enough. I think he scored a few goals, didn't he? So, but I still don't know if he had a good game, if I'm being honest. Like, the players would be tearing their hairs out because he was lazy. He'd wear his socks down at his ankles and nothing bothered him. Didn't really integrate with anybody, didn't talk to anybody, just came to training. And on a Saturday, the Livy fans would go daft about Hassan. We were all running about daft, trying to do all his running and cover all the gaps that he was doing. But at the end of the day, he done well, and he was part of that team that kind of helped us stay in the league that year.
Oh man, I'm actually gutted that he was a bit of an introvert. Like, I always imagined he would be a total weapon.
He didn't really do much. He didn't, honestly. And see, some of the players that came in through the club, like especially foreigners, some of them were crazy. Some of them were mental. But Hassan kept himself to himself, really, and didn't really talk to anybody. So he was only there, 6 months, if that, and 4 or 5 months. And he'd done his job, to be fair. Like, was there something crazy that he wasn't getting paid for the club? He was actually an employee.
Yeah. Aye, so apparently we signed him as an amateur and we were only supposed to give him like 20 quid a week.
Yeah.
But then he was hired as like an advisor and getting paid about $6,000 a week.
Aye. That makes sense. I'm the only person that didn't make a good wage at Livingston because everybody was on fortunes at one point. So, okay, these things happen there, but no, he was a nice guy. He just kept himself to himself.
Did you ever play with the man known as the Sheriff Touré, my man? And because we're trying to collect as many stories about this young / old man, whatever he was. Have you got any stories to share about Sharif?
Sharif stayed 2 doors up for me, so he did, and never spoke to me once. Never spoke to me once. Never spoke to me once. Remember saying to him, "Do you want to? We'll share the card." We stayed at Deer Park at the time. Do you want to jump? No. All right, okay. So it was ridiculous, to be fair. He thought he was the best player in the world, and there was a spell where I think it was Martial playing him every week, and we were playing Celtic away, and Martial was giving it, "I have the formation to beat the Celtic." Sharif played up front in a 4-3-3. We were 5-0 down at half time. And I think that was the beginning and the end for him. I think a few of the players second half just thought, no, we're playing our way. We're not doing a thing you're telling us to do. But he loved Sharif. But he just never spoke to me. I didn't like me at all.
So you left Livingston after the 04-05 season. You signed a pre-contract with Shrewsbury Town. And after a successful season down there, you returned to what is everyone's favourite worst nightmare, Gretna FC. There's so many questions I want to ask, but I think the main one is, what the fuck happened there, man?
Oh, fuck, man. Like, my first season was great. Everything was rosy and brilliant. And listen, everybody got paid well. They certainly didn't get paid Premier League wages. That didn't happen. But everybody got paid well. But when I joined and Biggie was there. Stevie Tosh was there.
Yes.
So Alan Main was there. So I was like Tosher was a fucking bastard to me as a kid at Livingston. Horrible, so he was. See the young boys coming through, Tosher would bully you and get on your back and really give you a hard time. So when I went to Gretna and I knew he was there, I was like, see what this prick's got to do now. So, and he couldn't have been nicer to me. Could not have been nicer to me. And I was like, he was just trying to teach me a lesson growing up. And I was like, okay. He maybe went a wee bit too far at times, but he was a top player, so you took it. So it was great, and they were telling me how good it was, and the owner will do this for you, the owner will do that for you. And it got to the point where it was just a bit crazy at times, though. I scored a hat-trick against Partick Thistle, and he used to give his Aston Martin out to the players if you'd done well, if you got man of the match or something. And he came up to me and he says, I can't give you it. My insurance isn't allowing me to put the car about anymore. All right, no bother. Come and see me on Monday morning. No bother. So I'd forgot all about it. And his son came to me and went, oh, my dad's left something for you. I was like, okay. Well, he went, come to the office after training. No bother. So I walked into the office and his son gave me an envelope. I was like, what's this? He went, oh, my dad says instead of the Aston Martin, you're getting this. And I opened the envelope and I had £2,000 in it. I was like, what? And that's the kind of things he would do. And I was like, fuck me. I mean, who wants to drive about an Aston Martin for a week? Who cares? Give me £2,000 every week. I'll be happier that way. But I'm like, it was crazy things like that would happen. And then to win the league the way we did was, I'll never win a league. Nobody will win the league the way we won that league. I suppose I say that because Man City done it with Aguero, but it was that kind of surreal moment. And the fact that we had to share with Motherwell the following season killed it. Absolutely killed it. Our fan base, we got good fans down at Gretna. You were 1,500, 2,000. As soon as we went up there, I played in the game, I think it's the record low in the Premier League. There was only 600 odd with Gretna against Inverness in a midweek game. And it died. It died after that. It really, obviously, Brooks's health proper deteriorated, and he ended up he couldn't fix the things that he used to always fix. So it was a shame because he was a great man, and if he was still alive and his health was good, believe me, Gretna would still be about, and Gretna would still be doing well each season and being there. But the fact that his health, and you see it with a lot of things, anybody that's got one kind of money person, it's just not sustainable, and it's a shame because he was a really nice guy.
Mm. Nah, I remember going to a game. It was played at Livingston. For some reason, I have no idea why it was played, but it was Gretna v Celtic. And I think it was just after the administration had kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I'm not joking, there was about 100 Gretna fans. And you're just like, this just isn't looking good for them at all.
No, it just... And listen, we can all laugh about it and talk about it, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who lost a lot of jobs again.
Yeah.
And the fact that Gretna have come out again and they're still playing at Raydale, obviously under a different name, it's good because they're sustainable now, and they'll never ever get to the heights that Gretna team did. But it's good that they've got a football team and the fans have got somebody to support again, to be honest.
So obviously, Gretna made it all the way to the SPL. He did manage to score in a 4-2 defeat at Easter Road. Like, was that a sort of nice moment to know that you were part of that journey to the SPL and you managed to get to score for them? Like, one of the pretty few players that actually did score for them in the top flight. But like, was that a nice moment to have?
It was a nice moment. To be fair, we were the better team that day as well. I think I put us 2-0 up. And thinking, right, and it was in the second half, 2-0 up. But then it just showed you the difference in the SPL at that time, because I think Hibs brought in 3 players and it was Stephen Fletcher, Benjaloun and Zamama. Whereas we had nobody on the bench. So we realised quite quickly that the kind of standard we were up against at that point. I actually scored against Hearts a few weeks before it, but Craig Barr got credited with it, and I don't know how. It's my header, and he claims that it hit his head, and it doesn't. It actually doesn't, but that's Craigie for you. So at that point, I got told I needed to leave. I was close with Dave Irons, who was the manager, and I got told that, listen, this is going to go bad. You need to get out. So that's when I decided to go out and loan because I couldn't sign with anybody at that point. I could only go out and loan for 90 days. So I managed to get out myself out and loan for a bit.
Well, that sort of links quite nicely because later on that season you joined us on that short-term loan. Was there any other options for the loan on the table, or did the allure of a night out in Club Earth just appeal too much to you?
Well, no, I could have went to Dundee at the time. I could have went to Hamilton. I could have went to Partick Thistle. And I kind of shook hands with Billy Reid to go to Hamilton. And then Vivian Kyles phoned me. And I knew Vivian from my time there before. She phoned me saying, would I go and meet the manager and stuff? And I was like, all right, I've kind of agreed to go to Hamilton. And she was like, just come and meet the manager. And I don't know, I had a decent relationship with Vivian. When Stuart Lovell was getting kind of the trouble, she pulled me in. I was one of the players that she pulled in for the meeting. So I got on okay with her. And so I went and meet Mark Proctor. And there was just something telling me I needed to try and go back. And everybody tells you, don't go back. But it was too difficult to turn down. Obviously, I knew a few of the players at the time. And I just couldn't get going, to be honest. I think I scored 2 or 3 goals. Couldn't get going. But it was definitely the right choice. It was I needed to go back because I never really got a chance to say cheerio the last time because everything that happened with pre-contract and Paul Lambert with 2-year deals. I think Dale spoke a wee bit about it all being kind of reneged on. So I left on a bit of a sore note at that point. So it was important to go back. And to be fair, I scored a couple. So it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. But when it came to choose whether I wanted to stay at Livingston or not, or leave, I just didn't see where Livy were going at that point, so I decided to kind of come back to Gretna and decide to leave to go to Dundee.
So you mentioned it's after the loan spell you went back to Gretna, and unfortunately you joined Dundee, but was there a chance of rejoining Livy permanently at the time, or was it?
There was.
Like you said, you couldn't get going.
There was. I could have signed, but there was just something not right at Livingston at that point. God, you're all know better than me. There was a kind of they were putting a lot of the stuff into the youths, which was great, but I don't think they ever wanted to win the first division. there was never that push to try and really compete again.
Mm.
And then there was always talk of, Vivian was always kind of making it out as if, right, they'll be leaving soon, and at that time there was talk of Italians and all that coming in, and I was like, I've seen this before, I'm no interested in all this. I was like, I want nothing to do with it. So at that point I just decided that it probably wasn't the right move for me. And at the same time, I could have Hamilton, Billy Reid wouldn't shake my hand after I signed for Livingston on loan, so I had no chance of going back there. So I could have went to Dundee or Partick Thistle, and I just thought Dundee, being a very big club, I thought they were the best option for me.
So after Dundee, unfortunately, found themselves in financial trouble, were you let go by them? Were you one of the ones that was cut?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, aye. But then after that, you joined your hometown club, Queen of the South. Was there any aggro from the Queen's fans because of your Gretna exploits?
There was when I played against them with Gretna, like really bad. Especially my mum lives from Almonville to Club Earthaway, from Palmerston, so she does, and so it's no far. And my car's tyres would get slashed and stuff the night before. The night before the Queen's games and stuff, and it was quite vicious actually. And like the first Gretna Queen's game was a Sunday because we were in the UEFA Cup on the Thursday night, and I got pasted. Like honestly, the fans gave me it, and I think I scored 2, and I do the old can gaze that one, and I got booked for it as well. And I went out bank holiday weekend. Me being stupid, went out on the Sunday in Dumfries, and there was just Queen's fans just absolutely want to drill me, and I was like, oh no, up the road. And then so I always got booed after that and really battered at Palmerston. When I went back with Dundee to play against them, it would be the same. Like my name would get read out in the team sheet, and it would be booing, and I'm like, ugh. So then when the opportunity came to go and play with them, I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. I was talking to Kenny Brannigan, going, I don't know how well this will go down, mate. I really don't. And he asked me to do him a favour and play a couple of trialist games for him. Mm-hmm. So I did that, and I managed to score up at Ross County for them. And it turned out that he says, I've got no money to sign you. None. I was like, okay, I'll come and play just for a couple of games. And then it turned out it was the Queen's fans that it was one of the supporters clubs that put a wee kind of whip round to give to the club to sign me. So it was really, as soon as I was given that opportunity, I could have signed elsewhere for more money. But when I'd realised the fans had done that to sign me, I thought, oh, I need to sign here. And I've said it more than once, it's one of the most enjoyable times I've had in football. I was only there 6 months, and I loved every minute. Scored a few goals, managed to captain them my last game, and if circumstances had been different, I would have stayed there. I would have stayed there and never have left. By the time they were changing the manager, they weren't sure if they were going part-time or full-time. They weren't even sure where they were going to be training, and it was a case of I didn't have a choice to sign. They asked me to sign, but I didn't have a choice. It was too difficult to say yes to. But no, I loved every minute of it, and I've got a great relationship with the fans now. I support their kind of fundraising stuff. I buy their towels when they come up, and I'll do whatever I can to kind of help them along, because it's a great club, and I'm glad and fortunate to have got a wee short time there.
Aye, so I mean, I remember hearing in another interview that you done on the Pellet podcast with Craig Telfer that you grew up a Celtic fan, but because you were living in Dumfries, did you go to Palmerston quite a lot, or like
all the time?
Your sort of wee team?
Oh no, we couldn't afford to go to Celtic on a Saturday, so we were walking distance to Palmerston, me and my pals. So we would walk along, jump the fence. Couldn't pay, obviously. Jump the fence. It was either that, or we used to wait for the balls to come over the stand and steal the balls. But no, and then so we used to go there a lot when I was younger. But then I signed for Queens when I was 14 as well. I was an S form there, so I was able to kind of be about the place on match days if I wanted to. So I spent a lot of time on Saturdays watching Queens. And I remember it for the Billy McLaren days and all the way up through. So it was. I was quite annoyed when they try to sign me when I was going to Newcastle, and they never ever spoke to me once at that point. And there was myself and Ryan McGuffey, both Dumfries boys, leaving a team like Cannon to go to Newcastle, and Queen of the South never spoke to any of us, which was a bit disappointing at the time. But listen, I love the club, and it's one of the first results I look for every week.
After you left Queen of the South, you joined Ross County and were part of arguably one of their greatest teams ever, and you won the second division for the second
First
time.
division.
County. Oh, sorry, first division. Thank you for correcting me. But I had a wee look. I was sort of researching the sort of stats from that season.
Mm-hmm.
You've lost one game, and it was the second game of the season.
Yeah.
So what was that sort of run like, just being literally unstoppable?
It was crazy. I remember we lost the second game of the season. The first game of the season we drew 0-0 to Morton at home. Before that, know how back then you only had the cup game, so you'd play the Challenge Cup and the League Cup. That would be it. We lost to Elgin as well in the League Cup. And it was the Challenge Cup, sorry. We lost to Elgin in the Challenge Cup, and then we scraped past Queen's Park in the League Cup. Drew with Morton, and then we got humped 5-0 or 5-1 off Hamilton. And I remember we had a meeting with Stuart Bammer, who was the assistant manager at the time, and he just said, "Listen, he's only far away. He's only far away. He's need a break." And after that, we won. And then we won another game. And it got to the point where we just thought, oh, listen, we're decent, we're a good team. And I didn't think we'd go the whole season unbeaten. But after that, it was phenomenal. And it didn't matter where you played, we thought we'd win the game. It didn't matter if it was a 92nd minute, it was 0-0. We thought we'd win the game. Or if we were 1-0. I remember being 1-0 down to Falkirk on Boxing Day. And Falkirk were the better team that day. They had a good team. And they were really pushing us at the top of the league. We scored the 94th minute to draw 1-1. And it was just one of those seasons where there was nothing that was going to stop us from winning. It was... I'll never have a season like it. None of the players will. It was great. Just going into every game thinking we're going to win. We will not get beat here. I think... I use this stat all the time because I think it's quite incredible. We won the league. Dundee were second. We were 24 points clear of them. So we were.
Jeez.
Queen of the South got relegated in bottom of the league, and Dundee only finished 23 points ahead of bottom. So we were further ahead in second place than what second place were to the bottom of the league, and I find that incredible.
That's insane.
And I did score against Livy a few times that season as well.
We fucking booed you.
I know.
Fucking boo.
So again, coming back to sort of previous interviews that I've listened to, you left County in the January the season in the SPL because it sounded as if you had a pretty
volatile
relationship with, by the way, arguably one of the worst Livingston players ever, Derek Adams. So, just tell us, what was he like to work with? Because he just seems a bit of a really strange character.
I'm a kind of heart on my sleeve kind of person. Like, if somebody says something, I'll call you out and go, "No, you're talking shite." Derek's no like that. It was Derek's way or no way. And it got to the point where I think it might have been against Livingston. Sure, it was against Livingston. I'm sure Stephen Craig got sent off up at Dingwall early in the season, and he got an 8-match ban. So Derek had to play me, and the fact that I scored every week and it was always, he had to play me because I was doing well for him. See, if he had another option, I would never have played because I just fell out with him every day in training. Every day in training, he'd be like, I'd be like, "No, talk shit, can't be bothered, talk rubbish, absolute rubbish." Like, oh, you need to. I remember him he pulled me into his office with Rocco Quinn and Grant Monroe, 3 players who had came, and we had a bit of experience between us. And Derek was very good because he built a squad up there with players that he could control and not manipulate in a horrible way, but he could get them into the way that he thought. So obviously he took Richie up there because he knew him for his Livy days, but he signed players on from Celtic like Michael Gardine and Paul Lawson, Scott Morrison for Aberdeen, young players that he could kind of mould. So he never ever had anybody kind of talking back to him. And he pulled us into the office saying, I don't think you three work hard enough. Grant Monroe said nothing, Rocco said nothing. And I went, what are you talking about? I went, I've made a career in football just because I work hard. It's not my ability that gets me anywhere. I work hard, I work my balls off. And he went, well, football talks. I went, football talks what? He went, people in football talk. I went, well, people in football talk shite. And he went, well, I spoke to your last manager and your last manager said that your attitude wasn't great. I went, is that right? So I phoned Kenny Brannigan in front of him on loudspeaker. I went, let's see what Kenny Brannigan's got to say about that. And he just panicked, absolutely panicked. Luckily, Kenny didn't answer because I went, well, you're actually lying. I mean, I might not work as hard as you want to because he had all his players doing the extra bits that they all did. Myself, Granty and Rocco were kind of different breeds and probably we should have, but at the time we didn't. So we just clashed all the time. And then it kind of came to a head when we were in Marbella and I didn't agree with a few of the things that he said and we just kind of decided to leave it at that point. And it's crazy because the 2 weeks before we fell out, I played the full 90 minutes at Parkhead and he told me after the game it's the best I'd played for him. And 2 weeks later I wasn't in a squad to go to Brora and I'm friendly. So that's what happens with Derek. And I get some of it now, especially after becoming a manager. I do understand some of the things that he did. I just don't agree with some of the way that he did it at times. He was a dirty bastard and all in the park, wasn't he? He's fucking shite bag tackler and all that.
So negative, so pish, terrible.
To be fair though, it's his time up there that meant that he took Richie to Ross County, he took Jimmy Scott to Ross County, he took Boydie all for that kind of thing when they've all went on to have decent careers, to be fair. So he must have done something right. I'm just maybe an arse at times.
I remember there was a game away to Motherwell. It was the season that Derek Adams played for us, and I'm sure
he didn't play in the Premier League, did he?
Aye.
Season.
Paul Lambert, aye. And
there they go. I felt Paul fucking Lambert, aye. Don't get me started on him.
Not enough, please go. So
no, let's get started on him.
Yeah.
The worst Livingston manager ever.
I had a 2-year contract at Livingston. I remember Dale touched on it last week. I'd signed a 2-year contract. So after that season, I just assumed that I'd be staying. So it got to the March time, and Vivian said, if Richard isn't going to stay as manager, we've got somebody coming in. I'm going to get his assistant to give you a call. Hey, bother, okay. Very surreal. So his assistant, I think, was it Ronnie, somebody McQuillan?
Aye, yeah, Norrie McMenamin.
Norrie McMenamin. Phone me up. Yeah, Colin, how's it going? Well, it's just, we're kind of trying to organise for next season. All right. And at this point, Goff's still the manager. We're not going to want you. Oh, okay. I mean, all right. Okay. I mean, is that the way it's gone? Yeah, but we just think it's best if you give yourself the opportunity to go and sign with somebody. And luckily enough, my agent at the time was Alan Preston, who'd just been sacked at the start of the season. I phoned Biscuits. I said, I'm not at Living next year unless Goff's there. He went, Goff will leave. I went, well, I'm out. And I signed for Shrewsbury the week after. So that's what I think of Paul Lambert. The fact that he didn't even have the decency to phone me himself. He got his assistant to phone me and tell me that he wasn't interested. Considering I'd been playing out of position for the last 10 games in the Premier League to keep the team in the Premier League, I thought it was a bit poor. But that's the way it went. Was he the manager of the night that Snoddy scored 2 against Rangers?
Yeah. Aye.
Yeah. I was at that game. I came up for Shrewsbury for probably a night out or something. And I ended up going to the game. So I came in reception, and obviously I knew all the boys on the door and all that. I've walked in just to say hello to a few of the boys. And Paul Lambert, I was talking to Snoddy before the game. And Snoddy went, Paul Lambert walked past. He went, "You're not allowed in here." I went, "Oh, I'm very sorry." I went, "Listen, I'll let you go." And Snoddy went, "He's one of the reasons you're in a job in the Premier League," like joking. And he said something like, "I don't need anybody in the Premier League. I'm a Premier League guy." And he just walked away. And I said to Snoddy, I went, "He's a prick, isn't he?" And Snoddy went, "It's hard work, mate, it's hard work." Then I think was it 3-2 to Rangers? I think Snoddy scored twice. And I was like, that's just no my cup of tea. I'm used to kind of a man's man that'll even humour you if you don't like you, just kid on. But nah, he didn't do that. He didn't. I thought he was a bit arrogant. I was a bit disappointed because I'd had a lot of time at Livingston.
So after County, you had spells with Morton and Celtic Nation down south before joining Stenhousemuir in 2014. And in 2018, you were named the manager and guided the club to an outstanding derby win against Falkirk. Would you say that was probably your highlight at the time with the Warriors?
Probably. It was a time where I was close with the manager. I was a first team coach. When he got sacked, the assistant got sacked at the same time, Jim Patterson. So I was the first team coach, but I was also a player. So they kept me and wanted me to stay on as player, and then asked me to take the team for a few games, which I spoke to Bomber about and decided that that's what I would do. The fact that I think we played Dumbarton and then we played somebody else, and we had 2 reasonable results. And then we were playing Falkirk in the Scottish Cup, and if you know that area, it's quite a big deal for Steny. Really big deal. It was a sellout, complete sellout. Even the Falkirk fans brought like 1,500 fans, and we didn't just beat them. We absolutely pumped them. We beat them 4-2, and we battered them, absolutely battered them. And on the Saturday, that was the Saturday. Sunday, they phoned me, offered me the job, and when I think back now, it was probably too soon for me. Just a bit inexperienced, and especially being so close to the players at that point. So it was probably a bit too soon in terms of experience for management, but we done okay that year. I know we got relegated and that sounds stupid, but we were kind of cut adrift at the bottom. We managed to beat Falkirk, which was huge. We then went to Pittodrie and drew 1-1 at Pittodrie as well in the Scottish Cup, and brought them back to a replay. We beat Arbroath up at Arbroath, and I think we were the only team to beat them at home that full season. And we managed to get ourselves into second bottom, but it just didn't work out. And wonderful time, wonderful club. I love it to bits. Still got a lot of friends at the club. It was sad the way it ended, but I've not got a bad word to say about the club.
Would you ever go back into? So obviously Stenhousemuir was part time, and you're you're an electrician, are you?
I'm an electrician now, yeah.
So would you want, if you were to go back into management, would you prefer to go full time if you were given an opportunity at like a sort of someone like Queen's Park or something at the moment, like full time club, be able to sort of build your way, or would you have any sort of reservations?
No, I would definitely. I got interviewed for a couple of jobs in the summer there. Part time, obviously, but it's something I've learnt so much from it that I think that I would be better now. I'd love to go in and build a team, which I thought I was doing at Steny, and tell you what, they've got the basis of a right good team there with some right good players. So we were doing that, but the pyramid system it's not very easy to you anymore. Teams will panic. Teams are panicking because of the pyramid system, that if they go down, they'll never get back up, which I understand. But at the same time, I really feel I was only in charge of 6 league games. We lost 3 at home, but we were unbeaten away from home. And then the League Cup, we were 1-0 up at Hearts with 5 minutes to go. We lost 2-1. We lost really narrowly to Dundee United 2-1. We beat Edinburgh City, and it's not just that, we beat TNS in the Challenge Cup as well when I was manager. And I remember talking to their manager in the club afterwards and having a beer with him and that. And I was talking about budgets, and he was like, "What's your budget?" I'm like, "I'm 110, 130 grand." His was 1.6 million.
Fuck off.
He's like, we just got a Champions League payment last week of 3 million quid. And I was like, fuck me. So that was the kind of stage we were at. And then you were expected to challenge against Cove, whose wage budget was huge. So it was just probably the wrong time for me, and probably the wrong time for the club to be at that level, because it was just very difficult to compete with the money that's. And you'll find it now with League Two. Teams will find it difficult to cope with budgets against Queen's Park, because Queen's Park have got a much higher budget than anybody else, and that's what happens. You can get the best players.
Right, final question. It was the one that I prepped you far too late for, so I'm hoping you won't struggle. Your dream Livy five-a-side of your ex-teammates?
Is it a five-a-side, like actual 5 players, or is it 5 outfield and 1 goalie?
Nah, go actual five-a-side. Make it more difficult. So, 4 outfield, 1 goalie. I
wouldn't have picked goalies, but I would go with Alan Main. You know what I mean? I'm not a goalie fan. I'm fucking goalies. Every brilliant goalkeeper in the world, shite as well. The odd day summons so stupid that you go, like, you see fucking Allison yesterday. He's got to save that free kick. He's got to save it. But don't get me started on goalies. But Alan Main is as good as I've played with at Livingston. I was lucky at Livy to play with Alan Main and Roddy, and obviously Javi Sanchez Brotto as well. But Alan Main just brought a touch of class. Very good goalkeeper. Bit harsh on Roddy because he was top notch, but when you're my age, I was in awe of Alan Main, and I was lucky to play with him at Gretna as well. So definitely Alan Main. In front of him, it'd have to be Big Marv. Big Marv was my roomie at Livy. So
was he?
What's that like?
Fuck me, man. Well, he's from Trinidad. His phone would go 1,400 times a night between 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning. Folk just phoning him. And then he'd get up to say his prayers in the morning, and he'd go to the end of his bed to say his prayers, and I would just feel awkward. I'd just kid on him sleeping. But the nicest guy in the world. Listen, one of the nicest guy in the world. Loved him to bits. And if you're only playing with one defender, you need somebody that can cover the whole back three. So just go and smash people and head the ball away. So Big Marv. And to be fair, Big Marv scored the best goal I ever seen for Livy. Away to Dundee United. And it was my first start. That was my first ever start. So I remember Big Marv. In front of him, Burton O'Brien. Bobo was the best player I played with at Livingston at that point. He was amazing. The season under Richard Gough. He was absolutely unbelievable, unbelievable. And he was a captain. He was everything to us. We'd all look up to him. Burton's younger than me, but we'd just all look up to him. He was the real driving force and absolutely magnificent football player. Beside him, I was stuck between Lee Makel or Stuart Lovell. But since Stuart Lovell made my all-time 11 as well, I'm going to go with Stuart Lovell. Archie was just the guy that kind of held everything together. Just scored a lot of good goals as well, a lot of important goals. But he was good with me. See, as a young kid trying to make in the first team, there was only myself and Richie Britton at that. I know they've got a great reputation now of bringing young players through, because after myself and Richie, you had Lee Griffiths, you had McNulty, Snoddy, Dorans, but they were all kind of at the spell that me and Richie were coming through. There was no other young players. It was just me and Richie on the bench every week, and Archie would look after us because there was some big characters about then. Barry Wilson, Bingy, Tosha, some really big characters that would kind of fucking bang you down. Archie was different. He would really look after you, and very good player as well. And up top, it's Dave Fernandez, isn't it? It's phenomenal footballer. When I came to the club, I couldn't believe how good he was. Couldn't believe. And then obviously got his move to Celtic. And I was like, yes, I maybe get a chance to play. And then, fuck me, decided to bring him back on loan. But no, I learnt so much from him, especially when I played up front with him, just me and him, and Dale had been injured or I'd started games. He was brilliant. It was him. He plays, I don't know if you've seen the goal against Rangers. It's just that he makes it look so simple, that pass. But the way to pass is phenomenal, that I don't have to break stride. And it just lets me slip. And I remember scoring at Hearts as well. And Presley gave me a hard time after the goal. And Dave Fernandez telling me shut the fuck up. And I was like, amazing. Fucking like that about you. Because he didn't have that in him in training. He was a nice guy. He'd come to training in Mickey Mouse jumpers and stuff. Just... And then I don't know how true it is, but I've heard he's a scout at Barcelona. Is that true?
I've heard Man City.
Man
City.
Certainly in Football Manager, anyway. Football Manager hasn't been Man City.
And
didn't they want to sign for my Livingston side?
No. No, you had to get him early doors, didn't you? But no, definitely, David would definitely be up front. And there's a few players that miss out because like Dingy was incredible. And because you're playing a five-a-side team, you wouldn't pick a fullback. So you can't pick Jamie McAllister or David McNamee. You can't pick them. So some really top players missing out. Keno as well. Fuck, Keno was in something else. So no, a lot of top players missing out, but that'd be my 5. Obviously, I'm not going to get in it. Every striker I played with was better than me at Livingston. So,
well, I was actually going to ask. So in that sort of scenario, you would be the manager. Who would be your assistant manager? Who would be your ideal assistant manager?
Oh, you need a buffer, don't you? You need somebody that's going to dive in with the players. So it would either be Snoddy or Lee Griffiths, just so that they can organise that kind of side of things, and I can concentrate on the important stuff. And when it comes to all the daftness, I can say to one of the two, right, go and have a fucking take the boys out for a day out. It would be them. So definitely one. Although Stuart Lovell used to be really good for the nights out. The day I remember Dale talking about the day we went into administration, we went into a pub in Livingston Village. So we did after it, and playing pool and darts, and we were all pissed. We went through to Edinburgh after it. In Edinburgh, it was one of the times where, do you remember you couldn't get into pubs and clubs with trainers on?
Aye.
So I had my trainers on. Stuart Lovell was going up the road in Edinburgh. He's like, no, I'm going home. I'm like, I'm going to stay out. He gave me his shoes that he was wearing. They were the worst fucking shoes I've ever seen in my life. They were like corduroy shoes. So it was. And remember back then, you used to put black socks over your trainers to try and pass them off the shoes. I put black socks over these fucking shoes.
That's amazing.
So we done all right for nights out, to be fair, we did. And Archie was kind of team conveyor, he'd take you out, and it was a good time to be there at the club, to be fair.
Instead of doing predictions for the Aberdeen and Killie games coming up, we thought we'd remember games of yesteryear against the Dons and the Squirrels. I don't know, whatever they're fucking called.
Fucking Squirrels.
I don't know, mate. Povey, can you give us your memorable game against Aberdeen or Killie?
My memory is from it's 18th of March 2004, just after that famous CIS Cup win against Hibs. And we had that, as Lily mentioned, our pal Derek, as he mentioned last week, so many games at that period, they didn't really have much time to take it all in. And we had that quarter-final against Aberdeen at home. And that for me, I was a first appearance on Sky for me with my wee drum. Never misses a game, that boy. But more so that goal Burton O'Brien scored. You know that lineup, by the way, that we had the same starting lineup that played against the Hibs, and for that Aberdeen game so many days later, you know, and
No way.
it was the exact same lineup, and bizarrely, we also just a bit like next week. What's coming up? We've got Aberdeen twice, home and away. We had them at home, and then at the weekend we had them away, and we beat them 2-1. Our pal Colin McMenamin scored as well as O'Brien, but so we had them 2 games on the bounce then as well. But that Burton O'Brien goal, if you've not seen it, I can't find it on YouTube, by the way. I don't know if it's there, but I've got it integrated in my head. It's fine anyway. Scored from, was it our own half or something they scored from? It's ridiculous anyway. It was so far out. And yeah, took us to that semi-final against Celtic. So that's my memory.
Nice, that's a good one. Thomas, what's yours?
Oh, no, it's a good memory for me, but it was the, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think it was our first home game back in the Premiership against Kilmarnock, home for Kenny Miller.
What are you mentioning him for?
He's like Voldemort, man.
I was absolutely buzzing before this game. I remember me and Rebecca rocked up. Can't wait. Back in the Premier League, home fans, plenty of fans there. It was really good, really good. Sat just in front of CP, I think, and good time all round. We ended up with the boring 90 minutes of football I've ever seen in my life. It was absolutely horrific. I actually told Rebecca, I think, she's been at more games since then, but we pretty much exclusively went to 0-0s together. Like, all the games that she came to with me be 0-0s. I was like, I'm never coming to football with you ever again. But she came at the Rangers game that season. It turned out all right. But I think what I want to highlight from that game is we had the maybe not legendary Miller and Miller strike partnership. It wasn't really a strike partnership because Kenny Miller never got up the park. I remember him that day. He was running all over the place and not in a good way. He thought he could manage and play every position stuff, but what a night. So yeah, I was having a look back to the results, and that one kind of came to me as an interesting one to talk about. So
am I right in saying that was the first game we had of our plastic pitch?
Correct.
So they had the mental, the whole pitch was like black because of all the pellets, and they hadn't soaked them up yet, and you couldn't even see people's feet. It was just this pellet storm around people's feet of the ball and that. It was mental on the telly.
I remember it because we were sitting quite near the front, so like at the edge of the box, and it was just like clouds every time like a tackle came in. It was like a cloud of black pellets. It was crazy, and when you see the pictures after, you're like, "Oh my god, this is embarrassing."
God, no wonder we get pelters.
I remember the smell of that game because it was like all you could, because it was a sunny day as well, and all you could smell was those black pellets. It was as if they were like burning, and I remember thinking like, this just smells like a fives pitch now. Like, this is horrendous.
I was just going to say, all I was going to say was I love how you called it, like, official term, Pellet Sooker. Like, what's that?
It's a real machine, man. Owen, what's your story?
Well, my memory is I'm going to choose Aberdeen once again. We're going back this time, though, a little bit further to the 23rd of January 1999, when Second Division Livingston travelled up to Aberdeen to play in the Scottish Cup third round. And we came away as Second Division. I mean, everybody in the Second Division seems to beat Aberdeen at Pittodrie. But we defeated Aberdeen 1-0, and the greatest Scottish striker, as far as I'm concerned, ever, John Robertson, gave us the win. I just remember travelling all the way up to Aberdeen, just freezing cold, dark, pissing it down with rain, possibly even snowing as well. And coming away watching John Robertson score the day before my God knows what birthday it was, because I can't do maths, but scoring the day before my birthday to put Livingston through to the fourth round of the Scottish Cup, who we then played. So the fourth round of the Scottish Cup was actually then against St Johnstone, of course, going to be our League Cup finalists along with us this season, and we got thrashed 3-1. But my memory is defeating Aberdeen at Pittodrie 1-0, John Robertson scoring the only goal of the game.
I had that recorded on videotape. I think it was maybe the Sports Scene or whatever it was back then. But I used to watch that all the time, that game, just to watch that back. I was only 5 or 6 at the time, and I just, couldn't beat it. I absolutely loved that. Brilliant. Good one. Nice one, Owen.
Liam, what was your memory?
I was going through it when I was looking for like how many goals that Colin McMenamin had scored in the 03-04 season. I was sort of scrolling through Wikipedia and I found this game that just sort of triggered my memory. It was a game at Rugby Park, and it must have been it was like it was either the 23rd of December or the 26th of December 2003, and we went through to Kilmarnock and we fucking pummeled them 3-0. I looked at the goal scorers. It was Juanjo Camacho, and it was probably one of his last games, because I think he got punted when in administration. Juanjo Camacho, Fernando Pasquinelli, again, who we mentioned last week, and I think Burton O'Brien got the last one. But I'm a big fan. I'm a massive fan of Christmas games. I love going to games around Christmas time. I know it's probably a fairly normal thing to feel, but there's just something so much better about, maybe not at that age because I was only like 12, but like going to later games as you're older around Christmas, knowing that like work's finishing soon. You're just on pints for fucking like 3 weeks. But I remember getting the supporters bus to that game at Owen. And I'm sure we had Christmas hats on or like Santa jackets. And then Michelle McManus was on Pop Idol or X Factor or something. And I'm sure she came out at half time. And there was like this big thing. And I was like, what a poor thing. Why would you do that to such a young lassie? Just parading her. I don't even think she was from Kilmarnock. I don't think she supported Kilmarnock. She was just there. I was like,
that's amazing.
Even as a 12-year-old, I was like, what the fuck is she doing here?
God.
But that game, and then the 3-0 game last season as well against Kilmarnock. I think I remember the stadium being empty. It was probably around Christmas time again, and I think that was one of the first games that I remember thinking that London Dykes was going to be like the next big thing. But those 2 games against Kelly, I would say.
Brilliant. For me, it was. I spoke about this before with the boys in the group chat. So we went to Rugby Park, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, we were 2-0 up at half time. And we were absolutely dominating. And I had family friends that I was visiting, so I got to sit in the Kelly end. And but these guys have been Kelly fans for literally forever. So I was out and sat in these proper seats. The seats had their names on them, and I think they were like kind of leather comfy because they've been there for such a long time. And so the first goal went in, I'm like, yes, come on, poke my pal. Second went in, I'm like, yes, come on, poked in. Anyway, they start to work out around me that I was not a Kilmarnock fan, right? So half-time went in, quite smug. I was quite young at the time, right? They score 2-1, and out of nowhere, this guy just scalps me with his glove on the back of my head, and I was like, oh, and he's like, right. And then it goes 2-2, and he scalps me again with his glove. I think did they win 4-2 or was it 3-2?
I think it was 4.
4-2.
was-
And so the third goal went in and he gave me another scalp and he's like, hey! And everyone's going and everyone's jumping on top of me. I'm like, oh my God. Couldn't believe it. And then when the fourth went in, I just had my head over my head, hands over my head, just ducking down, and he just scalping me with this glove. And all these Killie fans are shouting at me and that. I mean, I was quite young, so it's pretty brutal actually, but I won't forget that. And then after the game, I don't know, I loved Chris Boyd at the time, which is weird because he's such a prick, but he was playing. I'm sure he scored in a turncoat, got his autograph, which is pretty bad, but I will never forget that, getting scalped after this guy's glove.
That game was mental, I was at that as well. And McNeamin, because obviously you're saying you were at the Killie end, obviously getting scalped by a glove. But see when McNeamin scored, like, it was so bizarre. One of those ones, and Killie's a horrible stadium, man. Like, it's so uncomfortable, the seats and all that, you know. But I remember, like, it was I don't know, McNeamin scored from a corner or something like that, and nobody knew he'd scored. We were all silent, and all you could hear was the Livy players like, "Hey!" and we were like, "Hey!" Like, you know, like one of those weird ones. That was for me. That was an amazing away day for me. I was like, even though we lost 4-2, I've got so many memories from that game. I remember we stopped at a place called Kilmars, and I remember some guy serving us like a breakfast roll. I was on the supporters bus, you know, and some guy serving us a breakfast roll, and he's like, obviously saw us with our Livy tops on, and he's like, "Well, is that you boys who won the crime scene investigation cup, was it? Aye?" Like, trying to be all bad of us. Like, I was like, oh my God. I was total pish patter, like, you know, and oh my God, I know so much patter from that day, honestly. And I remember somebody on the supporters bus getting beef olives, you know, those like steak covered, mince covered in steak or something, and he was like, "All right, Kilmars, best beef olives you'll get," and I was like, "What the fuck's a beef?" I didn't care what a beef olive was, So me and my pal, it's like, honestly, Google it. We didn't ken for years, and then we nicknamed them beef lard cakes. We were like, I see this beef lard cake. So fucking so many memories from that day, but pish result, you know. Anyway,
I mean, going back to Jake's story, I had a very similar experience at Tynecastle once, right? So, like, my friend was going through to the Hearts game, and I was going to go sit in the Livy end with a couple of guys that I knew. But then this guy's, my pal's dad or something had a spare ticket, so I was like, so I could sit beside them in the Hearts end. So, get to the game, and it was the deck chair season, right? And I was trying my best to sort of blend in. I had a jacket on, but my Livy top underneath. And about sort of halfway through the first half, Livy get a free kick from like 35 yards out. And I was like, nah, I can't mind the last time I seen her score a free kick. Cannot remember it. So no chance this is going in, right? Jason Dare steps up to the free kick. He'll never strike a ball better in his life. It curls into the top bin. And I just lost my shit. I was like, fucking yes! 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 Like, Hearts fans, like, it was when Hearts were doing quite well as well, so, like, it was full. And there must have been, I was in the stand behind the goal, like, next to the Livy fans. And I'm going, fucking yes, man! And then I look, like, behind me on the pitch again, and then I see, like, all the Livy players surrounding the ref. And I was like, no, don't do this to me. He took it as a direct free kick, and it was supposed to be indirect. And the goal was disallowed, and we had to retake the free kick.
Oh my God.
And I just had about sort of 7,000 Hearts fans turning around to me going, "Way! Get off me, you funny." Honestly, I went beat through it. I was like, nah, I think I actually went. So it was like half an hour into the game, and I spent the rest of the time in the toilet. I was like, nah, I'm not going back out there. I'm not going back out there. I think I tried to sneak into the living end, and everyone in the steward was like, nah, you're not getting it. Oh my god.
You were in the toilet.
Man.
That's not because of the goals, though. You were there for other reasons, don't lie.
Well, that wraps up everything quite nicely. We'll be back next week with another exclusive player interview. Just follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That's at AmmonViewPod, all one word, at AmmonViewPod. And search for us on Facebook at AmmonView Podcast, as well as our new service on YouTube. Again, just search for the AmmonView Podcast. But let's just say you won't want to miss next week's player interview. Forza Livy, see you next week.